How did a stay-at-home mum with chronic fatigue, severe depression, and needing daily medication just to get by end up symptom-free, thriving, and helping thousands do the same? I'm Sharon Selby, gut health mentor, mum of 2 boys, and your shortcut to feeling your best without the overwhelm. Each episode, I'll share the simple strategies to boost your energy, transform your health, and raise kids that thrive. Welcome to Heal Your Gut, Heal Your Life. All right, to kick off this podcast, I'm sharing the exact 2 things I did that completely transformed my health over 12 years ago. There were no fancy tests, no expensive supplements, no practitioners. To be honest, I had no clue what I was doing back then. I wasn't a health coach. I was just desperate to feel better. But these 2 shifts that I made in my diet changed everything. I went from severely depressed, over-medicated, and constantly sick to energized, symptom-free, and off all medication, and finally feeling happy again, like genuinely happy. So if you're feeling stuck, lost, or overwhelmed about your health or your child's health, this episode is for you. All right, we're here. I can't believe it. I'm so excited to be able to share this brand new podcast with you. And here is episode 1 of Heal Your Gut, Heal Your Life. The name is a bit of a mouthful, but between me and my online community, we felt this was the best name for this podcast because really, if you can understand what gut health is and how simple it is, and then how simple it is to apply these strategies that I'm going to share throughout the series, you can expect incredible transformations in your health and for your children's health and for your entire family. It's a complete life-changing education and skill set, and I cannot wait to share this with you. So there's this ancient Chinese proverb that says, when you are healthy, you have 1,000 problems, but when you are sick, you have 1. And I cannot relate to that more. I mean, it is so relevant. When we are sick, everything stops, and all we can do, especially if it's our children or our own health, it impacts us so much, and that becomes our story and our life, and we can't even enjoy anything around us. So I want this to change. That is my passion, is to be able to do that for you. And I've always shared my story as well. And I think the power of this story is it started 14 years ago. And when mothers and women hear this, they think, oh my gosh, if she could achieve that and didn't know what she was doing, then I can do it. Anyone can do it. And that's the key. I think nowadays, gut health is such a buzzword that we think it's so complicated because everyone's selling their latest superfood, their supplements. You have to do all these tests, like a stool sample, a blood test. You have to see a naturopath. It becomes so expensive and confusing. Which way do you go? Well, it's not like that. So many of us are missing the basics of gut health and the fundamental understanding of gut health. So when you know that, everything else slips into place and it becomes really easy to apply. So my story is going to help you understand that. And then I'm going to share the 2 things that I did that completely transformed my health and my life. Hence, Heal Your Gut, Heal Your Life. So over 14 years ago, I moved to Australia with my husband at the time to raise our family. In fact, we both totally underestimated parenthood. My first son was 7 weeks old and we jumped on a plane and decided we'd move to Sydney. I left behind my career, my community, my family, my friends, and went on this journey. I didn't know anyone in Sydney. And we thought, hey, what could go wrong? It's just crazy. We were 2 morons. I mean, I don't know what we were thinking. But over time, within a matter of weeks, something happened that I didn't expect. I started to get really, really sick. I developed asthma and hay fever out of the blue. I never had these issues. I had a little bit of that when I was a child, but it was never a problem in my adult life. And suddenly I was wheezing and getting asthma attacks. In Sydney, you can get Ventolins in your chemist. So I was able to initially control it, but then the asthma attacks kept coming thick and fast. So I went to see the GP, got fast-tracked to see respiratory specialists and allergists, and discovered that I was extremely allergic to dust and pollen. So pretty difficult given that that's my environment. And I was told then, I remember speaking to my specialist, and it was a very sobering moment. She said, you have 2 options. One is you can leave because Sydney is not suiting you. In fact, Sydney is the asthma capital of the world. I didn't know that. Or 2, you can stay, but we're going to have to give you some really strong steroids so that you don't have all these symptoms. So at the time it seemed, okay, well, I'll take the steroids. And initially that was great. So I was prescribed 8 rounds of steroids a day, and I did that for 2 years. Now, initially the asthma subsided, and I also had really bad hay fever. So it was also, I used the steroids to control my hay fever as well. And hay fever, I have to say, is one of the worst symptoms, along with chronic fatigue. One of the worst symptoms. I was constantly sneezing, itching my eyes, my throat was itchy, my ears were blocked, and it's miserable. So initially that medication was amazing. But when you're on that amount of medication for a prolonged period of time, you can get side effects. So I ended up getting terrible brain fog. Like, I just could not think clearly. I developed migraines straight away. I used to have that as a child, but didn't suffer like this. Every week I had a terrible migraine or a headache. I developed chronic fatigue, and my sleep was shocking. I'd go to bed really late, fall asleep, wake up at 3 a.m. wide awake, and then finally fall asleep only to have my baby wake me up at 6 a.m. It was miserable. I had no immune system. So when my 1-year-old started going to daycare, he caught every bug and flu, and then I would catch it. But with me, it would stay longer. And I ended up getting pneumonia twice and needing antibiotics. So in those 2 years, I had 8 rounds of steroids a day, a packet of Panadol a week, just feeling chronically tired and lacking any joy or clarity. I couldn't work out how to sort my life out. I kept going. I kind of just sort of accepted that this was my life, and I didn't really question it too much. And then came my biggest wake-up call. There was no doubt that my mental health was declining rapidly. So I went to my GP again, who was on speed dial. We're on first name basis, and that was pretty much my social life. But I went there and just told them how bad I was feeling. So they decided to give me a questionnaire, and I thought I responded fairly positively. And then my GP looked at me with such concern and empathy, and she said, "Sharon, you've got severe depression." And in that moment, it was like I saw the last 2 years rapidly flash in front of me. And I just thought, wow, how have I let my life get like this? How did I accept this so easily? So as she was explaining to me, we need to get you a mental health care plan, we need to find a therapist for you, and here's some antidepressants. It was that moment where I thought, wow, something has to change. I didn't know what, but something had to change. So I took the script, I went home, and I was a bit of a zombie for the whole day. And then that night I went to bed, and the next morning I woke up and something changed. I don't know what it was. I'm pretty spiritual these days, so now I have a better idea. But at the time, I had no clue what got me into action. But in my dressing gown, I woke up in the morning and I pretty much lived in my dressing gown. I started rummaging through the kitchen, through cupboards, and I was looking for something. And my little son, who was a toddler by this stage, was looking at me like I'd finally lost it. But there I was. I found it. In a cupboard was a brand new NutriBullet. It was still in its packaging. And I thought in that moment, I had no idea where this would lead me to. And I think it was actually a final grasp of some control, because I had no education in diet or food or anything like that. But I think it was a desperate plea for control. And I thought, the only thing I can control now, I can't control my child, I can't control my joy, I can't control my career or anything like that, or my health. I can at least control what I put in my mouth. I made a smoothie that morning. And that was the thing that was the catalyst for change for everything. I decided that day I wouldn't take that script. I wouldn't even call a therapist. What I decided to do was give myself 2 weeks to take out gluten, dairy, and sugar. And the other thing I decided to do, so that was number one, the foods I was going to take out, because I was eating loads of comfort food and numbing myself. That meant a lot of processed foods had to go out. And then I decided I would not go to bed unless I ate at least 5 to 8 servings of fruit and vegetables. At this stage, I had no idea how to cook either. So the rest of my diet wasn't pretty great, but I was just going to do those 2 changes. Well, what happened next totally blew my mind. I had zero expectation for any change. I just had a desire for control. So immediately from that day, I noticed I didn't get a headache. I haven't had a headache since, apart from the odd few throughout the years. But this is 12 years ago. I slowly started getting my energy back in those 2 weeks, and I couldn't believe it. My sleep was a little bit better. I stopped getting sick as well. That was, as I said, 12, 13 years ago. I haven't touched antibiotics since. I haven't been sick really since, until, the odd thing here and there, but I don't even take Panadol for that. I didn't know why I was feeling better. I still didn't attribute it to the food or the diet. So I carried on, and I started getting much more energy. In fact, with my 2-year-old around, I started waking up before him and going to the gym. And that's unheard of. I've never even done that my whole entire life. And here I was in my mid-30s with severe depression, going to the gym first thing in the morning, living with those principles of no dairy, no gluten, no sugar, and having more fruit and vegetables. Within 3 months, I no longer had hay fever. So I was no longer reacting to the things I was hyper allergic to. So I carried on. And then 5 months in, I no longer had asthma. And so the 8 steroids that I was having every day, I didn't need them anymore. I never took Panadol anymore. Colds and flu remedies I've never taken since. I got my energy back. I got my clarity, my mental clarity back, and I felt happy. So nothing in my external world changed at all. My environment that I was really allergic to hadn't changed. So how did a stay-at-home mum diagnosed with severe depression accidentally heal herself when all the experts could only manage my symptoms with medication? I didn't understand it, so I had to go on a journey of discovery. So I studied nutrition. I found an online course that allowed me to become a health coach in a year. I wasn't interested in becoming a health coach, but I needed to know what happened. Was I getting used to living in Australia? Was that it? Or was it all the changes I started making in my diet? And that's where I discovered gut health was the key to everything. And that is how I got my life back. So fast forward 10 years, I now have a full-time business. It's an education company that teaches mothers and women how to transform their health by prioritizing gut health for themselves and their children. I've created Australia's first gut health course for mums, and I'm a regular on the Today Show. I speak at corporate companies, at schools, all about gut health. I am so passionate about it, and now I get to share this podcast too. So here's what I want to share with you. So many of us are chasing symptoms, but we're not addressing the root cause, the actual system, our body. And our body doesn't work like that. Our body doesn't work in separate parts. It doesn't work, for example, with asthma. It wasn't just the lungs, but it came from somewhere else. The inflammation came from the gut. Same with if we're dealing with eczema. The skin isn't the issue. It's the victim of inflammation in the gut. Same with if your children have swollen tonsils and then we lob those out in surgery. The tonsils are the victim, but the inflammation is in the gut. So are we chasing symptoms or are we healing the system? And when we heal the system, it's like a domino effect. It's just like all the symptoms start disappearing very, very, very quickly. Your genes load the gun, but it's our diet and lifestyle that pull the trigger. In fact, 95% of disease is due to lifestyle and environment. So only 5% is genetic. I find this really empowering and exciting. That means you don't have to suffer every day with symptoms, that with a little bit of knowledge and know-how, you can actually turn it around. So your priority now, with my help on this podcast, is to start getting really, really excited about gut health. So I'd love to suggest this with you. Over this series, I'd love to be your health coach, and I'd love to help you stay accountable on the things you say you're going to do. And together, I'll share all the gut health wisdom I have and the practical tools to apply them at home as a mum, as a busy parent. So for this week, I've got a suggestion for you. First, ask yourself, are you in a cycle of sickness care or health care? So with sickness care, that's pretty much what I did, where you've got one symptom, you add medication to that, you have another symptom, more medication, another symptom, more medication. That's sickness care. We're numbing symptoms, but we're not addressing the root cause. Healthcare is when we actually correct the system, the body as a whole. So what are you doing? Are you in sickness care or are you in healthcare? I just want you to reflect on that. And then number 2, what I want you to do this week is commit to one small change that's going to appeal to you. It can be anything. I went all out because I was pretty desperate, but that might be too much for you. Instead, commit to one small change. Maybe it's changing up breakfast. Maybe it's adding a couple more pieces of fruit or vegetable in your diet. Maybe it's not having the chocolate bar late at night. Maybe it's only having just 1 cup of coffee. In fact, your gut will tell you the change you need to make. So just tune in. What is one change that is achievable that you can do every single day until we catch up next week? And remember, progress is far better than perfection. Don't wait for the weekend to finish or the birthday party to happen. Start now. What is that one small change? And I'd love you to tell me what that is. Head to my website, sharonmselby.com. You'll find my email there. That's my personal email. And tell me what your change is. Or go to Instagram and DM me, or go to YouTube and watch this and add a comment and let me know what that one shift is going to be. And then next week, I'm going to see if you stuck with it. And I'd love you to stay accountable. That's what I'm here for. Another top tip I have for you is, as you get more and more excited about gut health and realize how simple it actually is, I want you to make a promise that everything you learn now, you apply to yourself. Your kids, as wonderful as they are, they can wait a little bit. I actually want to make sure you feel your best, because when you do, you're going to have so much more resilience to support your children. So now let's just focus on you. So next week, in our next episode, I'm going to break down what gut health is. What is the gut microbiome? What is gut dysbiosis? What is a leaky gut? It sounds confusing, but let me tell you, it is so easy. And once you know this information, you can actually make some conscious, empowered choices moving forward. It's actually so exciting and it's so simple. I'm thrilled you're here listening today. I cannot wait to see you next week. Tune in, and thank you so much for joining me on episode 1 of Heal Your Gut, Heal Your Life. Thanks for joining me on Heal Your Gut, Heal Your Life. If you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. I'd love to hear your feedback. If you're ready to start healing your gut, grab my free gut health guide and recipe book at sharonmselby.com. See you next week.